I think we're going to want to cut this section a lot tighter. These long static shots slow down the action too much. Yeah, there, that's better, but we'll want to cut away sooner. All right, this is where I want to go to the close-up. Wind that back, will you? I think if we hit the close-up just as the red car is approaching the camera, it'll increase the sense of speed.
Right, that's good. I think that'll help a lot.
Yeah. We're making a film about a sports car race. We're also making a film about the filmmaking process itself. We want to give you some sense of how a film is constructed, of the many choices that have to be made in the script,
right about here.
in the photography, yeah, good. Let's try it. And in the final editing. And we want to give you some idea of the controls which a filmmaker exercises in the process of constructing a film. What you see here is the final step in that process, as the editor actually cuts the pieces of raw film and splices them together to form a new experience. Good, good. That's much better. Before anything else can happen, we have to decide very clearly what we want the film to express. We could, for example, decide to make a story film about a rivalry between two of the drivers. Or we might want to make a lyrical film, a kind of symbolic statement about men and machines. The project we chose was to make a short film which captured the excitement and tension of a whole day's activity at the races. But how? If you go to the race yourself, you experience it as a series of miscellaneous details. Your attention wanders from one thing to the next, whatever catches your eye. Our job is first to select and organize those details on paper in the form of a script, then to capture the images we need on film during the photography, and finally, in the editing process, to arrange those images so that they form a coherent and exciting film. One activity we want to show in the film is the drivers suiting up before the race. This is part of the final build-up to the race itself, and it's interesting because of the interplay of feelings. The crew members and spectators are eagerly anticipating the race. The drivers are nervously preparing themselves. One way we could show the suiting up would be to simply point a camera at a particular driver and photograph the entire action for as long as it takes. It takes only a few minutes for a driver to suit up. But a few minutes on the screen seems a lot longer than a few minutes in live experience. The filmmaker is not necessarily required to construct his film in real time. We can show this same activity just as effectively in less than half the time. We establish the general surroundings and locate our particular driver the same way we did in the previous sequence. But after he has begun suiting up, we cut away to some spectators, and then back to our driver, further along in his preparations than real time would have allowed. Cutting in close-ups of some of the details and using different camera angles helps make the sequence more interesting. But we don't have to stick with any one driver. If we want, we can construct a montage using many drivers. And we can use music and sound effects to help create the mood we want. When it's time for the race, the cars move onto the track and line up. They take one lap around the track, in line, behind the pace car. Then they move slowly down the straightaway in low gear, engines roaring, watching for the green flag. Again, one way we could show this event on film is to simply point a camera at it and shoot. In this case, we've placed our camera in the pit area so that you see the start from the point of view of an average spectator. Some parts of this shot are interesting, but it doesn't convey the excitement of the whole event very well. You can barely see the green flag. There it is on the right-hand side of your screen. And if you didn't have the sound effects to cue you, it would be hard to tell just when the cars started accelerating. But the filmmaker is not locked into any one point of view. Our script called for scenes showing the start of the race from a number of different camera positions. This is what some of the other film looked like, uncut, before we began to construct our film version of the start. This is the start of the same race, photographed from a position on the starter's ramp. There's some jerkiness in this shot, which calls attention to the camera, so we're going to have to work around it when we construct our final version of the start. This scene was photographed through a telephoto lens, which makes the cars seem very closely bunched together and makes a nice effect when seen together with the sound of many car engines roaring. But we needed other views of the start. The script called for a wide-angle shot, showing the cars accelerating toward the camera, and a close-up from the side, emphasizing the speed of the cars as they streak by the spectators. Since using more than 2 cameras at one time was not possible within the limits of our budget, we photographed the starts of several other races with cars that looked similar from a distance. Here's the start of still another race from a position in the official gallery. With a shot like this, there's no way to tell one kind of race car from another, and it's exciting material which was very helpful in creating the kind of effect we wanted. Another important element of the activity at the start is the reactions of all the different people watching. What you're seeing is only part of the footage we shot for this sequence. Altogether, we shot about 12 minutes of film, from which we constructed our 1-minute film version of the start. Seeing the uncut footage, you can get a pretty good sense of the filmmaking process. This is a process which starts with the development of the script, continues as the filmmaker organizes and directs the photography, and ends with the editor actually cutting and splicing the pieces of film to construct a kind of unique reality. finished the start, we had to construct the race itself. Now, visually, most of the racing footage is pretty exciting. But after you've seen a half a dozen different cars from various positions around the track, it all begins to look pretty much the same. In fact, even if you go to the race yourself, it begins to get boring if you don't have a particular car to root for, especially since this race actually lasted well over an hour. Our job in constructing this section of the film was to capture the excitement of the event in just a few minutes of screen time, and to build a sense of real competition between some of the cars. In filming the race, we concentrated on the red Triumph, number 9, and the blue Saab, number 42. Here's one of the key sequences of the competition between them. Let's go through that again, one scene at a time. First, we see the two cars from a position on the starter's ramp, then a view from the driver's perspective, and then another shot from the ramp looking in the other direction. Actually, the straightaway is quite long, and in real time, it takes the cars almost 25 seconds to drive the length of it. But by cutting these three scenes together, we can see the entire action in just 10 seconds. And we have a sequence that's much more exciting than a single shot 25 seconds long. Then we wanted to get our two cars from here, where they move into the trees after rounding turn 1, to here, where the blue car finally overtakes the red one, rounding turn 5 halfway around the track. By cutting in this brief close-up of the red Triumph, we were able to make the whole sequence flow smoothly, and at the same time maintain the fast pace of this entire section of the film. The fact that the three shots were taken from widely different positions around the track doesn't matter, because visually they flow together well. In fact, even after this whole sequence has been analyzed, scene by scene, when you see it again in motion, it's hard to remember that it's not one continuous piece of action. Now you've seen how we constructed some of the key sections of our film. Let's take a look at the whole film and see how all of these pieces fit together.
off.